Hi everyone, welcome back. So today is a Saturday and I found out that Anglia Car Auction are holding a 2-day classic car auction event. So I decided to go and visit the place and have a look at all the cool cars that were on for sale. Check this out guys, sit back and enjoy. The first vehicle that I've recorded was this Daihatsu Hijet buggy that was used to carry tires by Porsche racing team. How amazing is that? So I came outside and there were so many interesting cars out there for sale today, but the first thing that caught my eye was this Jaguar XK8. Such a classic and timeless design. Fell in love with it ever since playing Need for Speed High Stakes and also that James Bond movie where the villain was chasing the Aston. But guys, what do you think about this car? I think it looks incredible to this date. Very classy GT cruiser. And I'm quite surprised that some of these examples today were sold for like £1,300. That's peanuts. Then I saw this Alfa Romeo GTV Lusso 3 litre and it's like Marmite. You either like it or you hate it. But the fact that it was designed by Pininfarina speaks loads. Tell you what, I do love the rims. It reminds me of Lamborghini Diablo rims. Then this Maserati 4200 GT Cambio Corsa. Look at it, it's so beautiful. Italians do know how to design beautiful looking cars. If I'm not mistaken, this car had the first Cambio Corsa transmission fitted to Maserati. Then I spotted a 3rd gen Chevy Camaro 5 litres. Such an American car, it's a cultural icon. I remember seeing it in movies of like college kids driving around with beautiful girls. It's really everything I expected it to be in real life, and it's the first time I've ever seen such a car in real life actually. 5 litre V8, proper American muscles. Beautiful car. And while I'm not a huge fan of this convertible Mustang 3.8, I do like its successor with the squared body. But anyway, it was there and it's quite rare, so I took a quick video of it. Now have a look at these guys. It's a 92 Nissan Fairlady 300ZX. Not 100% sure if it's the naturally aspirated model with 222 horses or the twin turbo with 300 horses. But either way, have a look at it. It's so beautiful, wide, low, such a sports car presence. Imagine seeing this in your rearview mirror. And this is the era when they had this gentleman agreement in Japan so that car manufacturers don't go above 300 horses. So everyone was making these cars up to 300 horses, you know, in brackets. But yeah, this car is known amongst tuners and it came out with so many advanced features like 2-mode suspension, 4-wheel steering and all of that stuff. Anyway, I really love this car. Its wide stance just looks absolutely amazing.
The rare Japanese market 2-seat for this one with a 5-speed manual gearbox. Where are we going to go with this one? Got this transfer rated at £5,100.
And then I saw loads of people gather around this 82 Chevrolet Corvette Collector Edition. Not surprised, I mean look at it. It's beautiful from every single angle. I'll be honest, I'm surprised at the sale price. £10,000, that's incredible money. I thought this car was gonna sell for like 30–40k, but 10k is peanuts for this kind of car. I honestly thought that this was gonna be extremely desirable and will go up in value so much because it transitioned to like the fuel injector, it had a different exterior looks, glass hatch. 1982 basically marked the end of this 3rd generation Corvette model run, concluding the beautiful Stingray era forever.
Where you go there?
Here's the 1982 Corvette, collector's edition, this one.
Now what shocked me is how many people were bidding on this car. I didn't realize that it was so desirable. Apparently it had bespoke interior, iconic design and all that stuff. Now I know it's subjective, but I think the front end of this car is absolutely hideous. No wonder it didn't sell many of these in the UK and they couldn't beat the German rivals. I do love the Lambo wheels though, I must admit, and the interior as well. I'm not sure I'd call it a very desirable car, and hence why I may have seen this car try to be sold in other classic car auctions before. Either way, it was quite cool to see this car because it's super rare here in the UK. And then I saw quite a lot of people gather around this WRX STI, and I haven't had a clue why until I read the description on the windscreen and realized that it's a Type RA Spec C model. RA meaning it's a rally applicant, which is basically intended for racing. And this is why this particular example is completely stripped out of all the luxuries like sound system, aircon, power windows, airbags. Basically weight reduction like in Granturismo. It also had like adjustable center diff and a complete lightweight construction. And this is why all of this makes it a very desirable model, hence why it's also sold for quite a good money here at the Anglia Car Auction. And then right at the back of this car auction lot I spotted a Nissan Cedric 3 litre. Literally a car that looked like it came out of the Fast and Furious franchise. It looked crazy unique, crazy in every way, and ridiculous at the same time, and bonkers, and you name it. But yeah, those massive exhaust tips really made me giggle. May have been a show car, I don't know, but have a look at the rear end. How huge is it? I don't know how you're going to park this at your local supermarket. And the interior was quite clean as well, so that was quite a surprise. I expected it to be like modified as well, but it was pretty much stock on the inside. And right next to it was this other modified Hyundai Coupe Atlantic, and that was quite cool to see as well. Somebody must have spent quite a bit of cash trying to modify this car on the inside and the outside. Again, this looks like it was done back in the Fast and Furious era. The famous CLK55. I love this era when German cars were producing proper American style muscle cars. That's kind of my description of what I think this CLK55 is. And as much as I love this car, don't think I'd ever buy one because they rust like hell. Had a quick walk around the graveyard area where they had lots of restoration project cars. This Romeo GTV caught my eye as well. Gosh, really sad to see it in this state, because at one point it looked something like this, and now it's there for you to restore. Then I came back and found this BMW 700. I had no clue BMW ever made this car. Something I learned on that day, and this is why I love visiting these classic car auctions, because you find so many cool new things out there in such neat example as well. I mean, look at the interior, Someone really took care of this car. Well done. Found myself back inside where they had quite a lot of memorabilia items for sale. Then I turned around and saw this nice looking BMW E3. It was in this kind of like barn find area of the car auction. I didn't realize these even existed, but yeah, cool looking car and cool looking barn find collection out there. I couldn't walk past this icon because it's the hot hatch. It's the benchmark for all the hot hatches out there. Truly special 1.8 litre engine, unassisted steering, engaging driving experience. What else could you want? And then I saw this absolutely stunning Mitsubishi 3000 GT that immediately reminded me of Granturismo 2. It was revolutionary at the time because it came out with so many advanced features like, you know, four-wheel drive, active aerodynamics, electronically controlled suspension, 300 horses, and there was lots of different variants of this particular car. I really love it. So huge, wide, massive stance on the road. I swear you'd probably pick up more girls in this than if you drive a Huracan. Look at it. Rear engine, absolute supercar, bright green to the point that it hurt my eyes. All the jokes aside, I didn't even realize that Renault was making these type of cars back in the day. The reason why I decided to record this Saxo VTR is because it has a special place in my heart. I actually owned one of these hot hatches back in the day. It was my first car. Mine wasn't ridiculously boy racer tuned. I had a bigger exhaust, not too big, and the car was slammed to the floor. It was an absolute pocket rocket. This particular example grabbed a lot of attention, and again, I'm not surprised. It did sell for a lot of money than the collector edition version, but only because it was groundbreaking sports car of that era. It came along with this distinctive split rear view window and quite an improved design if you compare it to the other car that I showed you previously. I do prefer the looks of this model than its predecessor. But anyway, this car came out with enhancements to performance and design, and it was a success. It was, you know, boasted a record-breaking sales and extremely high demand for Chevrolet. So no wonder it's so desirable to this date. I had to stop for a few seconds just to admire this Maserati Granturismo S. It's such a beautiful and timeless design. Proper Italian car with a V8 and one of the best sounding engines and exhaust notes out there. And now look at this 87 Porsche 928 S4 Auto. So these are increasingly rare, and this is why they're contributing to the collector's appeal. It's actually achieved a classic car status because of its unique design and kind of historical significance. If I'm not mistaken, it's got a V8 engine, like a 5 litre. I remember this from Top Gear. Basically timeless design as well, and a comfortable GT cruiser I know the one on Top Gear that they bought was a bit of a junk, and they kind of like ended up breaking up quite a lot, but yeah, one of those. I remember this car from Scarface the most. I could not believe my eyes when I stumbled upon this 89 Alfa Romeo Spider, and I know that it's a classical Italian convertible sports car, known for, like, you know, its design being unchanged for quite a long time, it being a rear-wheel drive roadster, 2 liters, 120 horses and all that stuff. But most importantly, it's got this heritage and huge following, you know, from the Alfa Romeo fans, hence why it's not cheap nowadays. So yeah, it does look quite nice. And opposite this Alfa was a stunning looking Porsche 356 S90. And if you guys know your cars, you'll know that this is a really sought after classic because of its historical importance as one of the last iterations of the original 356 series. This particular example had a 1.6 litre flat 4 engine with 90 horsepower, and please correct me if I'm wrong, because I'm just saying this from the top of my head just because I used to play Porsche 2000, the Need for Speed series, and I used to drive all of these. There is a reason why Porsche is like my favorite car brand. I fell in love with it ever since Need for Speed High Stakes. But yeah, this particular example is very rare and valuable in the collector's market, making it an absolute prized classic car to own. And right next to it we had this 1996 Virage Volante wide body, and when I say wide body, it was huge. Such a rare car as well. I only ever seen one, and that was in a video game, Gran Turismo 2. Honestly, seeing this in real life was incredible. Such a great experience for me. Loved every moment of it. Now here's a weird looking car, 2002 Ford Thunderbird. And I remember when this car first came out, they were supposed to do something like with the classic looks, but apparently it didn't work. Had like a 3.9 V8 which only produced 250 horses, wasn't very much practical, and the looks weren't very striking. It was very expensive as well, so it was a bit of a flop, but nowadays it's kind of a collector's car, I guess. Ah yeah, the VX220, which is basically a Lotus with a Vauxhall badge, making it very desirable for its Lotus engineering, handling, performance, and for it being so rare as well. Do you remember how many of these Focus RS used to be around on the streets? Nowadays I can barely see a single example because they're probably all kept in the garage and their owners were waiting for the price to appreciate even more. Don't blame them. But something about this Focus RS really appeals to me. I don't know, it's this era. The wide body, the fact that it's so rare, and I kind of like it more than the successor models. Tell me your thoughts, guys. I found quite a few cars completely covered in dust, just like this Mitsubishi Evo 6 was. I don't know whether people do this deliberately so that the car fetches more money, but yeah, if that's the case, then that's sad. If not, and people just leave it because they don't use it anymore, that's also sad. But yeah, this car needs no introduction. One of those iconic vehicles. They're very rare and not many left in Japan for exporting. Was strolling around, having a look at cars pretty much all day. There's so many vehicles in there. And something else caught my eye. It was this exceptionally beautiful 90s Porsche 911 964. And although it was a convertible, which I don't really like, it looked stunning. Beautiful car. Here's another one of the Corvette's C4 convertibles. I drooled over this car. Look at the engine. The fact that you can see the wheels and the headlights as well, that was so cool. If I'm not mistaken, I think this is one of those cars that looked absolutely futuristic inside with the digital dash. That was quite something back in the day, I bet. There's something about these old school Jaguars that really catches my eye. I don't know about the reliability factors, but they are being sold for peanuts basically. Now this is my alleyway. This is the kind of car I'd love to buy and drive it every day. Everything about this car screams old school American muscle car. And that one. I really sound like Little Britain. I want that one. I want this one. At this particular car auction, I pretty much wanted half of this stock to buy. So all I need to do now is basically play the national lottery and win millions. This Lotus is supposed to be a very rare and desirable vehicle. It's a first pre-production car. There's a video going around on YouTube about its suspension. It's got something to do with active suspension, and there's quite a bit of history about this particular car, how it'd been sold and bought and all of that. And here is a small snip for people who watched my previous video and who said that the SL sold for good money. Look at the money that it's been sold here for.